How are you doing? Super excited to be with you today. A few months ago, I decided to make a change in how I teach my students in finding deals. I still teach lots of ways of finding deals, but one of the focuses that I do quite a bit is called driving for dollars. And I want to deep dive into this so we can talk about it and how it can help you be successful in your real estate investing. We're talking about today driving for dollars is the most cost effective strategy and how to do it. Some things that we're going to be covering is take a look at what is happening historically. We're also going to talk about what areas have been affected, and we're going to see that's the wrong slide. I hear a lot of this. I wish I had money to start investing in real estate, right? Meaning, if I was richer, then I could be richer. Well, it doesn't really work like that, guys. The hardest part about anything is getting started and getting that very first deal. Fear kills more dreams than failure ever will. It's okay to fall down because those that don't even try don't even get a chance to succeed. So, if you want to be a real estate investor, like be a real estate investor, you should do things real estate investors do. Okay. Most people have it backwards. Most people look at this is the be do have model. Okay. So, if you want to be successful, then you do the right things and then you can have it. Okay. Be, do, have is a natural law that cannot be violated. So most people have it backwards. Most people say, hey, if I had $1 million, then I could give some to the poor and then I would be generous and a giving person. Nope, doesn't work like that. When I decide to be generous and giving, then I'll give some to the poor, then I'll attract more ways to give. Start being the person that you want to be, not upside down. Jim Rohn said, don't wish that life were easier, wish that you were better. That's what it comes down to. So most people just have that backwards. So what do real estate investors do? Okay, I want to be a real estate investor. What do real estate investors do? They find deals. That's what you've got to do. You've got to go find deals. And this is a very cost-effective way to actually go finding deals. What you're doing is driving. And as you drive around, you're looking for properties that are in not the best condition. They go after properties, they find them. These could be vacant properties, bankruptcies, involuntary liens, out-of-state owners. These are different things that real estate investors are actually going after. They buy a list with hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing. They could be spending that, or some are spending very little. So the question is, if the big guys are spending $100,000 or more in a given month, how can we compete with them? And the answer is we have eyes on the ground. We see things they can't see because data is never perfect. So that list they got, there could be a couple, there usually is more than a couple, that don't make it to that list. For example, vacant properties. We get this information from the post office. When they can't deliver any more mail, sometimes they miss opportunities. Things don't get added to the list. There's some manual error. There's some computer error. The guy that's delivering the postman is delivering and he's having a bad day and doesn't put them on the list. There could be computer error. These things happen. And when it comes down to it, timing is everything. It can take time before it gets added to the list as well. So how can we compete with these professional investors? Well, we can get there before they do. We can find some that are missing in the list. We're looking for the cracks. Where is the crack and how can we get there before other people get there? So this is what we do. We do driving for dollars. We go and we see properties that meet the criteria we're going after. Then we go after those properties by SMSing, calling, postcards. We find things that fall through the cracks. So let's detail out these steps and what you need to be aware of and how you can do this. So step number 1 is determine the area. Determine the area. You want to be driving in the right area. It's kind of like you want to fish where fish are and not where fish aren't. So we determine this by looking at zip codes and we look at where the most fix and flips are actually happening. And a fix and flip is defined by buying and selling the same property within the same calendar year. Now, is that perfect? No, but it gives us a great indication. So that's the first thing we do. Step number 2, you've got to set up your system, okay? This is the system. Phone number for callbacks or voice broadcast. You can use a Mojo Sells phone dialer. It has 3 lines. You can skip trace it to actually get their phone numbers, okay? And then Investor's Edge. You can track the areas you drive to make sure you don't drive the same areas twice. So the Investor's Edge comes on you can get it on your phone. It works amazingly well. You also want to fund your account for SMS and postcards because there's a fee per postcard. There's a fee for per SMS. There's a fee to do those types of things. So update your contact information on your postcards. I'll show you. Let's jump back over here. So you've got to we're back in Investor's Edge. You've got to come and get your information all in there. If you don't update that correctly, you are going to not have things coming back to you that you would like to. So then you track areas to drive and make sure you don't drive the same area twice. Okay, we talked about that. Update your contact, add your tags on Investor's Edge. So those are different tags to determine what the property actually falls under. Now, step number 3, remember, we're going to be a real estate investor. So we're going to do the things real estate investors do, okay? You are looking for homes that have problems. If the home is in bad condition, they have to spend a lot of money to fix it up, or they've got to sell it to an investor. One thing lots of people don't realize is banks don't lend money on houses that are not in good condition. So they can't go get the loan if the property needs work. So what are you looking for in these specific homes? Well, if there's a blue roof or a blue tarp on a roof, or there's a bad roof, that's a tell sign there's a problem here. Broken windows or boarded up windows, if there's dead landscape, if there's construction materials, if the gutters are in disrepair or hanging off the house, if there's legal notices on the door, if there's missing siding, if there's no blinds, if there's overgrown lawn, those types of things, if there's peeling paint or if there's bad siding, all of those types of things can tell us, hey, there's a problem here. Broken down cars, fire damage, handicap ramps, long grass, moving boxes, overstuffed mailbox, overgrown vegetation, peeling paint. Like when I see any of these, which peeling paint's on there twice because most people forget about it. When I see these types of things, you want to be noting those down because those are properties where the owner is going to have to spend the money to fix it up, or they're going to have to sell it to somebody that's a cash buyer that's not getting a loan from a bank where it's cash, or they're getting a hard money loan. Those are the things. Now, step number 4 is code violations. What is a code violation? Something that is substandard that needs correction. So violation notices filed. There's common code violations: working without permits, not testing older material, adding a bath fan in an attic, handrail violations, the grass is too high, broken down cars, trash and debris. This is an extra way of doing it. This is a notice of a nuisance that you can see on this property and says, hey, you got 14 days to fix this, or we're going to start fining you. Okay, so this is some ways you can go. This is another notice of a violation. These are all the things that have to get fixed, and the city is the one going after them. Well, guess what? You can go get the list from the city. In addition to that, water shutoff. Anybody who is scheduled for a water shutoff for non-payment, that takes a long time. They just don't shut off your water immediately. They give you notice and more notice and more notice. And finally, when it gets to a place where they're like, okay, we got to do something here, that's when they finally will turn it off. Now, if they're turning it off, it means it's probably somebody that's in a bad financial situation, and you could potentially go help them. This is an opportunity. So step number 5 in this driving for dollars is you market. You got to do your cold calls. You got to do your SMSs. You can send your postcards. You can knock on those doors. That's what we do. Cold calling. This is the best and cheapest, but hardest, most time-consuming, and most profitable way of doing it, okay? You got to have some thick skin, and you're going to call a lot of people. So using a dialer like Mojo Sales is a 3-line dialer. It's about $150 a month, but that's unlimited calling. That can save you a lot of time. So you are going to get a lot of rejection. You're going to get a lot of rejection. People are not going to be happy with you. Each time you skip trace, you get about 3 phone numbers, okay? Cold calling, on average, you will make 500 calls to get one person that's actually interested. Conversations, not just calls. This needs to be changed. Conversations, not just calls. So with the dialer, you won't talk to this many. The dialer can make it easier so you don't have call reluctance. The idea is with the dialer, you say, I'm here, and people start popping on the phone, so you don't have to like dial every single time, because call reluctance will really make your success go down. You've got to get over that, or you've got to get a dialer, or I recommend both. People will yell at you. Some people will swear at you. Some people will threaten you. You've got to be prepared for this. You always want to be kind. You always want to be polite, and you always want to say, well, thank you for your time. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not selling people anything. It's not like you're trying to get them to sign up for a subscription for cable or something like that. You're making an offer to buy their house. I want to buy your house. I'm not trying to sell you anything. So you have to skip trace to get the phone numbers. It's 12 cents per property right now at today's prices. And that's how you'll get the phone number, and you'll get the email address, and lots of times you'll get a cell phone number. So I use a number. If they call back, I say, hey, this is Ryan. I'm a property buyer and looking for properties in any area and any condition. If you have a home you'd be interested in selling, please leave your name, phone number, and I will call you back. So the idea here is I have a different phone number that I have them call so they can listen to the voicemail and leave their information, and then I will call them back. Cold calling. If I get a voicemail, I have a pre-recorded message that says, hey, this is Ryan. I know this may be random, but I was wondering if you had any interest in selling your home. If so, call me at blah, 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 which is that phone number that I actually go to. If you're not interested, no need to call me back. Okay, so that's the type of stuff. SMS. This is a great way. You can do this individually, or there's software that will text to a lot of people at once. You can do that for 5 cents. Now, you're SMSing or your text messaging to the people that you've driven by the house. You know it has problems. You know they're going to have to sell to an investor or spend the money themselves, and you're saying, hey, can I help you out? So I don't use my cell phone for mass text messaging. You can get in trouble with your carriers if you're sending too many. So I only give my cell phone number once I actually go to their house and start having a conversation with them, or if I'm talking to them and they're serious, they've already left me a message. Now, postcards, this is commonly used. This is a big time savings, but it does cost more money. It's about 45 cents per postcard, okay? So what do? You can also knock on doors. If somebody's there, like if you're driving, they're driving for dollars, there's two psychologies of thought. One is just keep going and try and market to them. The other one is let's go talk to them and see. And in today's market, I would go talk to them. If you don't have much of a budget, knock on the door, and not just that door, but you want to knock on the 3 across the street and the 2 by the side. We call this a 5 around, okay? So you knock on the actual property, the 2 on the sides, and the 3 across the street. And one of the things in the 5 round you could be asking is if anybody has their cell phone number, because if they do, that's easy for you to pick up the phone and make a call. So let's get into some of my recommendations. My recommendation is doing cold calling. I also recommend doing your SMS splash, sending postcards, and knocking if you see someone that is actually there. So let's talk about some of the numbers. You can add about 30 properties per hour to your potential list. 70% you will get skip traced information, meaning you're going to get a phone number. So this is what we call our first property roadmap. So it basically reverse engineers what you're going to have to do and how long it's going to take you to find that very first deal. Now, it's going to be different based upon the area where you live, how competitive it is, what the property values are. But this is a roadmap, guys. This is to get you going in the right direction. It's back to the be, do, have we were talking about earlier. You can add about 30 properties an hour. 70. Okay, we got that. 21% of those you'll have a conversation with. 7% of those will be a prospect. 25 of those will turn into an appointment. 75 of those you'll make an offer, and 25 of those you will get a contract. So basically, if you add 2,250 properties, you're going to get contact information for 1,575. You're going to have 331 conversations, 23 prospects, 6 appointments. You'll make 4 offers, and you'll get 1 under contract. Now, this is roughly, like I said, it's going to depend on the area you're in. It's going to depend on the competition. It's going to depend on the price range. A lot of factors go in here, but I want to give you this. But here's the secret sauce, guys. Once you do your first deal, you know what your numbers are. Then you can say, oh, we get 80% contact on average, and we have 19% conversations, and 10% of those turn into a prospect. So basically, you've made your secret recipe, and now you go prove it. So now you do it again using those numbers and say, you know what, last time this is what it took. It should take about the same. Okay. You're going to hear lots of negative. You just have to keep going, guys. You got to keep going. This is not a guarantee. There is risk. The area makes a big difference. The price range makes a difference. Competition, I've talked about that. But the biggest difference of all is your skill set. And you're only going to get better at it by trying it and by doing it. The second big variable is your consistency. How frequently are you doing it, and how frequently are you giving up and not even trying? Now, let's talk about expenses. Plan to spend around $2,000 to get a deal in marketing, give or take. Some areas may be $10,000. Some areas may be less. If you want to do things that are lower cost, you can do that as well. I think calling is one of your more low cost ways to do it, other than door knocking. Okay. You still need other skills. This does not eliminate the need for everything else you need to be able to do, or we do. So you still need to know what to say. You need to get it under contract. You need to know how to value the property. You need to know construction bids, funding, project management. There's a lot of skills that are also needed to make all this a reality.